So, I, this is the kind of stuff I don't normally talk about. Um, and I'll tell you why. It's because when people tell me what their beliefs are, I don't care. You know, um, it means nothing to me. People, so and it's one of the things that bothers me about the being in the neo-pagan community is whenever I hang out with neo-pagans, is like it's basically a get to know you thing. It's like, here's what I believe. It's like, oh well, let me tell you what I believe. I believe in the blah 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 blah. Oh really? Well, I believe, such and such, and I believe in these gods, and I believe in these gods, and this is what. And it's like, I don't I don't care. That means nothing to me. The subjective, whatever you got going on in your head, that's like completely useless to me. Now, if you were to tell me why you believe it, that interests me, and why I should believe it, that interests me even more. Okay, but just I practice blah 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 with the blah blah and the who cares, so but that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to tell you what I believe. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about why. I'm just going to say, and it's but here's why I'm doing this. It's for a couple of reasons. I'm putting a stake in the ground. I'm taking a stance. I'm saying officially, this is where I stand. This is what I think. This is where I am. Stake in the ground is very very literal. It's like such a good metaphor. This is where I stand. This is where I am in the world. And I think that's important for a few reasons. One is it's it takes a little courage to actually take a stand. I don't know that I'm being all that courageous, but whatever. But another is, it's like, I don't know if anybody's going to watch this. I don't care. I hope. Well, I do care. That's not true. I do care. I hope people watch. I hope people that I care about watch this. But anyway, God, what was I thinking? Okay. But I want people to have an idea of where I'm coming from, so a context to put all the other ramblings that I have into make sense of them, kind of a thing, Okay. So there's that. Second is I want to see how I change, by making a firm declaration, very specific of this. This is where I am right now. This is what I think right now. I'll look at this in a year or two and see, well, how have I changed? Have I changed anything about any of that? Or am I, what's changed? Okay. So I consider myself a hermetic or hermeticist. I don't know what the best way to say that is. I think a hermetic. And I feel a little presumptuous saying that because I don't know that I know all of what that means. I think I know what it means, and to the extent that I know what it means, it's what I agree with. So I think I need to go into some detail so I can, because it might not mean what I think it means. I have read through the Corpus Hermeticum a while back, but I did so kind of breezily. I read through it like in a day or in a week. It's not that much stuff really, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I don't have any major disagreements with any of that, and I think that's what. But here's the main thing about Hermeticism and why I consider myself Hermetic is that I think that I apply the approach. I think it's more of an approach. I mean, it is a set of beliefs about the nature of reality and all that, but I think I really think more importantly it's about how you get there, how you approach divinity or the divine, and it's really a very I hesitate to say scientific, but it's like proto-scientific approach, in that it's through applying a process of experimentation and iteration and documentation and so iterative improvement. So it's word, like the word experiment, I mean, has the same root as experience. So it's experiential. It's about experiencing the divine directly and receiving wisdom from the divine, if you will. Experiencing directly, but not necessarily taking the experience at face value either. So it's about applying reason. So I think reason and rationality are extremely important, and I mean one thing that one reason I consider myself Hermeticist is because I believe that Hermeticism places reason and rationality as divine in itself, as a divine power. It's what makes us godlike. And but there's more to it than that. So but it's experiential. So it's about experiencing divinity. And it's by experimentation and by iterative process. So, for example, alchemy is considered one of the important sciences of Hermeticism. And if we look at alchemy as like a proto-science, if you will. And if we understand alchemy in the spiritual sense, spiritual alchemy, and if we apply its procedures to spirituality, then what we see is the goal of spirituality is self-improvement. The goal of alchemy and of the great work is self-improvement, removing the base, purifying, removing the impurities, purifying ourselves. And I believe if you use chemical processes, it can be an iterative process. So you start off with processes that remove large impurities, and then you repeat the process to remove smaller impurities, and it's refinement over time. So it's a refining kind of a thing. So that's the kind of approach that I have to spirituality. And another aspect of Hermeticism that I believe another part of my philosophy, my personal philosophy, that I believe is part of Hermeticism. And so what I mean by being Hermetic is that I don't see so much. So I believe there's a lot of overlap in the spirituality of Hermeticism and what we call today things like self-improvement, self-improvement, self-help, success. What is it like all the literature about like how to be successful, how to be rich, and how to achieve your goals, productivity and all that kind of stuff. I think you can see in the early Hermetic writings, there's not a distinction between, not so much distinction between like personal success and leading a good life and all that, and the spiritual. There is not, so much of a dichotomy there. So you have in the middle of these scriptures talking about, the God and, all these spiritual philosophical things, and here's a spell on how to be rich or how to be powerful or whatever. I don't know. There wasn't so much a distinction because it's all part of the same thing. Because spirituality. So here's okay. Stake in the ground. I believe religion is about how to live your life as best you can. Okay. So what a religion does is tells you how you should live your life, and how can you live the best life possible. Okay. That's what I think. And so it's all part of the same thing. It's all my wrestling with the divine, wrestling with God, my struggle to understand, divinity and this is all part of the same thing of my trying to be successful and trying to live a good life and have money and have extend my personal power in my life to greater and greater degree. I think that's part of what Hermeticism calls us to do, to be productive, to be creative, to expand our influence in the world, and to at the same time use it for good and that kind of thing. But I think it's all tied together. It's all part of the same thing. So, all right. So another stake in the ground of where I'm coming from, what I believe. And that I believe have in common with Hermeticism in general, and that is this: I believe there are some fundamental truths. There's some fundamental objective reality truths. Okay, and those are the basis for our principles of living, of the best way to live. And these principles, these truths, are sometimes hard to tease out of the noise. You know what I mean? I can tell you what I think some of these principles are. Some of these basic truths are. I think it's a fundamental truth that we have divinity, that we are partially divine. There's a spark of divinity within us. That we're creatures of the divine and of corporeal reality. So we're of two natures, dual natures, if you will. And and I think it's so here's what I mean about that spark of divinity. I think Hermeticism teaches that it's our mind, it's our capability to reason. And I think it's more than that. I think it's so our rational mind, but also our creative mind, but the combination of the two, our ability to empathize, to put ourselves in the shoes of other people, our ability to predict the future, to see the future, and I don't necessarily mean that in any kind of like magical sense. I mean, it's like, I think it's going to rain tomorrow kind of a sense, or it's going to, winter is coming. I predict that it's going to get really cold and we need to prepare for winter. That kind of thing. Okay. But But it's also more than that. And here's what I mean. Part of the meditative process is to observe your thoughts. And so you realize through meditation, or just sitting here thinking about it, is like, I'm aware of my thoughts, right? If you're aware of your thoughts, you're also aware of the fact that you are separate from your thoughts. Your thoughts are something separate from yourself. So what the hell is yourself? What is this you that is separate from your thoughts, that's aware of your thoughts? If you're not your thoughts, what are you? That's I think what is meant by, or that's part of what's meant by, a nature of divinity. There's something in ourselves that is the self-awareness, the awareness of our own thinking, of our own feeling, but is separate from those things. So that's I think that's it in a nutshell. Several nutshells, I guess. I don't know. I think those are the fundamental. I think those are the fundamental things that I try to use to drive principles and principles of living. That's why I think I'm a hermeticist. And maybe as I grow deeper in my understanding of exactly what the hell Hermeticism is, it's like, take what I say with a grain of salt, right? Because I'm not a master of whatever, but I think I'm a pretty smart guy. I think I got a general handle on it, and it makes sense to me, and that's where I stand, and that's where I am right now, and that's the point of view that I'm writing from and that I'm talking from, and if it anyway, I don't know. Does that make sense? We'll see.